But while we continue to enjoy our meal, we're going to have two student testimonials. Many thanks to our students. So I'm going to introduce them together, but they're going to come up one at a time. So first, we're going to hear from Spencer Brown, who's a fourth year at the University of Chicago. He's a bio major, and he's pre-med, so you should all be praying for his MCAT that he has to take soon. And our second testimony is going to come from Eleanor Lorson, who graduated in 2023, the beloved alum, with a degree in economics. So please welcome Spencer and then Eleanor.
Hello. All right. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I'm Spencer. As you heard, I'm a fourth year at the university, and I'm a bio major. I'm part of the St. Francis de Sales choir, which is part of why I'm here tonight, and by the grace of God, and somehow, I am also the CSA president. And it's really been an astonishing ride. I've also been entrusted with the responsibility to speak to you guys tonight. Hopefully, if you forgive my indiscretion, to go to a little bit of financial support for our beloved Calvert house. But of course, more seriously, because I think it's good to reflect on the great things that have been given to us. And I really would like to take this time to think about the evolution that I've had with the help of Calvert House, and hopefully this sort of reflects in your own life, and this leads you to reflect on your own future. So I'll begin, as all good stories begin, in the beginning. My first year at the University of Chicago, I was, as many first years, concerned, confused, a little bit disoriented, generally speaking. I had, of course, friends at my dorm, because you're kind of expected to always have friends with your dorm, but I always felt that there was a little bit of a lonesome feeling. You might think that this caused me to go to church and find God. No, actually, I kind of did a very different, weird thing. I joined the grappling club, which is effectively wrestling and also like strangles UFC style. Very weird choice. I know, I'm not crazy, I'm very sorry, but weirdly enough, this actually did bring me to the Catholics, because one evening after the club, so after I had gotten beaten up by guys stronger than me, was very, very mean. Regardless, one of my friends, the illustrious Mr. Nate Gibbs, asked, "Hey Spencer, do you want to go get dinner?" And I was totally fine with that. Dining hall passes, infinite food basically. So I was like, sure. And he pulled up with our friend Alejandro Morales, and we sat down, and I began to almost just immediately tear into my food. And at that moment, Nate and Alejandro began to pray. And I immediately stopped like a deer in headlights, because I had thought to myself, my goodness, it's been probably 2 months since I've been home praying before dinner and actually living like a civilized person. I was like an animal, astonished at the idea of sort of praying. And I felt, unfortunately, a deep shame, because I felt that I had totally failed to do any prayers. I had gone to church, of course, but I just really hadn't engaged with the Calvert community. And I was, kind of astonished by this. And eventually I sort of asked Nate, hey, where do the Catholics, associate with? And he kept on goading me. The Catholic students, they associate at CHUD, the Calvert House Undergraduate Dinner. So for my first year, I started to go to CHUD very regularly. I greatly enjoyed it. I encountered so many different people who I am incredibly proud to call friends. Samson Straycheck, as you previously heard, Alejandro, Nate, Dong, Hank. I have so many great and phenomenal people in my life. One Mr. Aiden Stenson, too, I can't forget him. Sorry, he's in the room, so I had to do that to harass him. And so I in my first year, I really got an incredible amount of friends at the Catholic Students Association. And as I moved into my second year, I was given the opportunity at the beginning of the year to join the small reading groups that the Calvert House offers. And this provided a really important structure because once a week I would sit down with people that I had, started to become friends with and would read an important writing from an important church father or perhaps a modern saint, other very important people for our church. And it was very important because I got to learn about faith in a way that was not sort of a self-reflective thing. Personally, I had always been very afraid of sort of talking about my faith amongst other people. I sort of was like, faith is like a personal reflection thing, not something that I would talk about how I felt about Scripture. It was a very, very weird experience. Probably shouldn't have been, given that I had gone to Catholic school, but it was only really through the intervention of Calvert House that I developed this structure where I could reasonably talk about my faith. In the beginning of my third year, I finally joined the CSA board as a treasurer, and it really instilled with me quite a lot of responsibilities. There were certainly mishaps. There were certainly times where I, as a treasurer, failed, but I was always given the opportunity. I will be fair. There were some times when I applied for OLA funding for free jibaritos y más at restaurants, and it was maybe 2 weeks late, but the thought counts. I was not a great treasurer, perhaps, but luckily we've moved on. I developed responsibility over that year in spite of the numerous mishaps, and I really started to feel a sense of care for taking care of the Calvert House that had already given to me my friends and a structure to my life. It's given me a place where I could also be responsible to try and help others, which of course leads me to now, where I am a president and trying my hardest to be a teacher, somebody that can help other students that were just like me one day. And it's been a great experience to see all of these people, to meet new young people that are joining Calvert House. There's truly a lot of really great people that are coming into Calvert House, and I am discovering just how important it was that I began as somebody who was clueless and dumb and decided that the best way to make friends was to get strangled at the University of Chicago. I'm very glad that in spite of how silly I can be, I was eventually guided to a far smarter path. And hopefully this is a good lesson for all of us, that even when we start a path that's certainly strange, out of our way, and very new, that the church can always be a place to come back home. And Calvert House is probably one of the best churches I've ever been at. So I'd like to raise a glass tonight. Thank you all for coming here, and thank you, Calvert House, for having given this great experience to me. Cheers.
Thanks, Spencer.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm a little short. My name is Eleanor Lorson, and as you can tell by your programs, I am pinch hitting this evening. It'll be brief because I wrote this like 15 minutes ago, so here we go. And to be honest, as I was thinking, my initial reaction was, I'm not the most Calvert-y person ever. When I was in school, there were way more qualified people to be speaking here than I am, but when I do look back on my college experience in the last 2 years, the most important part to me is realizing God's constant presence in my life during that time. I first was acquainted with Calvert House during my freshman year. I was Catholic in high school, wanted to go to Mass on Sundays, but I didn't really start getting involved until after the pandemic. I think during my sophomore year was incredibly a difficult time. School's already intense. I think the pressures of both U Chicago intellectually and then also the social element of being in college is really stressful. And I just had this desire to really go back to the sacraments after the pandemic. So it just kind of started with trying to go to daily Mass when I could in between classes. And it was really moving when I would go to Mass just to see these people at Calvert that I wasn't really friends with at the time, but they were so intensely convicted in their faith, which was not something that I saw in a lot of my other peers, just elsewhere. So, it really started as like going to mass between class. I really also hated studying in the library. There was something about those plastic chairs in the basement of Calvert House that, I really enjoyed going between class, and it was very quiet. And during my junior year, I had the opportunity to serve as Chud Chair. This seemed like a good idea because I really liked to cook, and it was a great opportunity to bring all of my friends that wouldn't usually come to church to Calvert. But I think one of my most favorite memories at Calvert was getting to be retreat chair during my senior year. That was really special just to, again, in such an intellectual environment like UChicago, really see the Spirit moving in people's lives. And I think the most touching part was getting to hear just really personal experiences with the Lord that some of my peers were having that I just had no idea. Like, I just saw them at Mass all the time, and so to like see the Lord move in other people's lives was really moving. It also connected me with other Catholics throughout the city. Still now, I'm up at St. Al's Parish in Lakeview, and I see UChicago adjacent people all the time, and I'm connected with Mission of Our Lady of the Angels through my time at Calvert House, and that's been a really important part of my life. And I still get pretty awesome spiritual guidance from Father Andrew, so that's great. It's really awesome. The gift of Calvert House keeps giving. So I will forever be grateful for my time at Calvert. I can't undermine the gift that just having the Lord in the center of campus was for me in my own spiritual journey. So thank you all for your support, and I can't wait to see what the Lord does in the future with Calvert. Thank you.